Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 beta impressions video. That is quite the mouthful, but my buddy Tyler hooked me up with a code and I want to talk to you guys about it here today. I encourage you to share your thoughts on the beta if you played in the comments down below. The main reason I want to do this video is because I don't know if I'm going to get around to the main game this year. I'm going to be very busy reviewing other titles, and also it's going to be in the heat of a Bethesda Game Studios release, which, as you guys know, will be my primary focus. So I just wanted to talk about what I experienced in the beta, and admittedly I'm more curious about the blackout aspect of this game, like I think a lot of people are, because I'm curious to see what a game developer does when they build from the ground up a AAA focused battle royale mode. We're seeing that kind of with Fortnite, but I don't think it really started off that way, but we're going to see that with Call of Duty, and that'll be cool. But for now, just what we experienced during the multiplayer. My expectations weren't unreasonably high for obvious reasons. I'm not the biggest Call of Duty fan despite my past as a competitive player and having a lot of time put into Call of Duty. I think some folks would think that because of the subtraction of a campaign, there would be these drastic changes. And ultimately, the major focus I noticed throughout this entire beta was trying to keep it about gun skill. There's that increased time to kill. Furthermore, you don't just have stuns and nades anymore, unless you want to give up one of your character's abilities, which we'll get into a little bit. But that was the first thing that really caught my interest, because I was happy to see the focus being on the gun battles. When I was sitting on domination points or hard points, it wasn't about who was going to chuck the nade over the building and land it on me. It wasn't fighting through a bunch of explosives like a lot of pub matches get, and then it gets very chaotic. No, it was just about gunfights. Now, don't get me wrong, there was that platter of BS that I expected, but it wasn't as out of hand as I think it could have been, because there are those character specialists that I had mentioned earlier, and some of them have abilities that are definitely going to need tweaking, such as Tempest, who is able to shock groups of foes for a very extensive period of time, and those were the best games I managed to string together when I was using this guy. A lot of the specialists are good in their own way, it's just more so that you can tell which ones really are the best. But there are ones that support the team by providing assault packs, healing, which gives bonus health to the entire team, ones with grab slams, which just clears out rooms of enemies with ease. It doesn't require all that much skill, barricades, pistols that one shot at close range that pretty much act like a shotgun. So there is this variety of specialists that's fun to play on top of the creative class system, which is once again like you'd expect, the 10-point creative class system, which I personally like so that classes don't get overrun with too much broken stuff. Although in this beta, unlike experiences with previous CODs, I instantly knew right away what some of the best guns in this game could really be. It was definitely the ICR. The Spitfire was also absolutely disgusting. And also there is the body armor, which is oddly reminiscent of Juggernaut. I thought this was 2018, not 2008. I figured Call of Duty had learned their lesson about these types of things, but it appears not. You can equip a body armor. It does give you additional health, and yes, with the extended time to kill, as I mentioned earlier, on top of this body armor, it does make a difference for sure. Will competitive players care? No, because it's going to be banned, but for those in pub matches, I guarantee you're going to see this running on most classes. One of the additions I really did like, though, is the healing. It's not about hiding in a corner waiting till your screen is no longer red. You have a health bar at the bottom. Enemies you shoot at have health bars. It's easy to tell when you should drop a gunfight or when you should keep pushing one. And furthermore, that health bar ties into a healing ability, so you have to actually manually stim your player before getting back into the fight. It's just a little extra step, but it's one that I really do appreciate to kind of level out the field and remove some of the chaos. That's the thing, is that I think Call of Duty multiplayer isn't in a bad spot, but it's always been incredibly hectic, and I'm very happy to see that they're making efforts at the very least to change that. As someone who's historically enjoyed Treyarch Call of Duties, I'm not too surprised this one seeming up my alley, but I can't say I was head over heels for what was there. It was very much what you'd expect. That's the thing with Call of Duty, is there's this expectation when folks step into it that it's going to drastically change and there's going to be so much different things to it, but it's going to have that DNA to retain the much larger player base outside of you and I who sit on YouTube and discuss video games. We're much more of the hardcore gamer. No, Call of Duty branches out to millions and millions of other gamers out there who don't even pay attention to the hype cycle. They just buy the game because they know it's Call of Duty, and Call of Duty has to have a certain feel. However, there is one hectic element, and that is the spawn system, which has always been troublesome in Call of Duty, but this one in particular, I noticed instantly within my first hour, which I think is pretty tough to do considering that's one of those things that in Call of Duty normally comes on to you over a period of time, but within my full amount of time with this beta, I would notice very often players spawning behind me or myself spawning behind other players and almost feeling bad to take them out because they made a good play, they took me out, I'm respawning, and I'm right behind a guy who's on a kill streak, and it's like, well, sorry buddy, but I'm gonna have to do this to you. I guess in such a tight map with such a fast game, there's only so much that can be controlled, but it doesn't make it less frustrating ultimately. The maps themselves I did like. I didn't have really any complaints at all. A lot of them were structured with 3 key lanes, but multiple routes to get in and out of those 3 lanes where it's not going to be just shooting down an alley each time. Key points on the map were selected precisely by the developers clearly because where firefights are always supposed to take place, like a big church, you know, that focal point always ended up being the hot spot. So ultimately, I have some interest in this game, but like I said, it's really going to boil down to whether or not I'm going to make time for this game when it comes to the Battle Royale aspect. I'm very curious to see what Call of Duty does with that, the player count, vehicles in a COD game, Call of Duty on a very large map. I mean, just there's a lot of curiosity going into it. I'm invested in that way. So ultimately, the beta actually didn't really blow me away whatsoever, which I didn't expect, but now it all rides on the Battle Royale mode and of course, Treyarch zombies. So we'll see in due time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this once again in the comments down below, so do fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content we create here. Stay sexy, stay active, I love you all. Peace.